YouTube takes Remnant TV off the air just a week before the midterm elections. National Public Radio broadcasts an abortion on air, live. With demons at the gate, America braces for an election that could mean the end of the world as we know it. Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Michael Matt, and this is the Remnant Underground. On the eve of probably the most important election in the history of this country, our friends over at YouTube have banned us from posting this week's program. I'm not sure exactly how long we're going to be down, but certainly not until after the midterm elections, and I think it's all very intentional. So I appreciate you joining us here at remnantnewspaper.com or remnant-tv.com, but YouTube is out of luck this week, and it's all good. We've talked about this before. If you're over the target, this is what's going to happen. So in a way, I'm very proud of the fact that YouTube can no longer tolerate us and is trying very hard to get rid of us. But we do need to talk about the future of Remnant TV because obviously the handwriting is on the wall. The big problem is we don't have connection to you. So we have 260,000 subscribers at YouTube. They're just like, hey, what's going on? Sunday night show's not happening. We have no way of reaching them. So I would appreciate it, by the way, if you could spread the word that at least for the short term here, we're going to be not doing premieres on Sunday night on YouTube until we figure this out. And the big question is, how do we keep in touch? How can I let you know what's going on now that big tech, Big Brother, is making sure that we can't do that? Ironically enough, I'm just going to plunge right in here where angels fear to tread. Ironically enough, we're finding that Twitter is becoming an option again. We've already seen a loosening up of the situation on Twitter. There's not as much scrutiny at Twitter since Elon Musk has taken over. That's just the reality. That's just what's happening. People say, "Well, I don't trust Elon Musk." Well, of course you don't. You know, why should you? He's not a Christian. Pretty weird dude, right? Not a conservative, but guess what? He believes in free speech on Twitter. Good for Musk. That's all I'm saying. Good for tweeters, and now good for us. If you want to click the link below, you can follow us on Twitter. And next week, when we're going to have I think I'm looking forward to next week's show. We're going to interview a police officer from the New York Police Department, talking about what's really going on there. And I'm really looking forward to that. So I'll be able to let you know when that show goes up, what time it's going up, where it's going to be. If you click down here, follow us on Twitter. Also down here is the link for our e-blast. You got to do that. You simply have to sign up for that. It just takes a second. It's free. We don't use that list for anything else other than to let you know when we're posting, because it's really important that we stay in touch when that's going to happen. Remnant-tv.com. By the way, at Remnant Newspaper, that's where we post all of our stuff from Remnant, from our own player, independent, privately funded player. So when you go to Remnant Newspaper, you're not going to see YouTube. We've banned YouTube videos on our website. So that we're in a really good position. I really want to stress that. That you supported this effort, because it took a lot of money, it took a lot of fundraising, it took a lot of time, it took a lot of effort. We're reaching a lot of people with Remnant-tv.com. People say, well, if you don't have big tech, you don't exist. Friends, that ain't so. That's just not true. We have to get over that. It's part of the psyop. Well, if you're not connected to Big Brother, to big tech, we can't even do anything. We can't get the message. Yes, we can, friends. We're doing it right here, right now. You see? We should celebrate that fact. Let me give you an example of how successful it's been. In the really short period of time that we've been building Remnant-tv.com, building it up, working out all the kinks, which is very important to make sure it plays well, it works, it functions well, which it is, we have picked up, get this, we have picked up over 5 million views, friends. And as the man said, that ain't bad. I'll have Walter throw that up on the screen. 5 million views, and we're just getting started. You see, so here we go. We got a war to fight, friends. We got to find alternate ways of doing it. We can't always be beholden to the very people on the far left that we're trying to resist. We're trying to overcome. We're trying to fight against. It makes no sense. And after a while, we all start going a little crazy, because in order to fight the Lord's fight and the good fight, we have to do it by the leave of evil people, of demons, of far left radical fascist nut jobs. Really? After a while, you go a little crazy trying to do that. It doesn't work. And friends, things are getting I just think it's really interesting that right on the eve of this midterm election, as I say, probably the most important in the history of this country, they're cutting people like us out. Why is that? Because what they're doing isn't working. What they're doing is terrifying. What they're doing is Mary Shelley. It's Frankensteinian. It's freakish. It's weird. Well, let me give you an example. And you're going to find this pretty upsetting. Maybe I should give you a second, those of you who have children, to either take them out of the room or turn down the volume for this next clip. Because this is what's happening. I'm telling you for a while now. Catholic politicians in this country, like Joe Biden, Pelosi, and the rest, are actually campaigning on the slaughter of babies. Now, this is something we can't say it often enough. We cannot get used to this. This is really all that matters. This is all that matters. The slaughter of the unborn, God's greatest gift, the gift of life. This culture of death, these psychopaths are campaigning to continue that slaughter of babies, right? And when we're trying to get that message off, what happens? Big tech, YouTube cuts us off the night before the election that might have a chance of changing that. So let me just show you this. Listen to this. This is what's happening in the real world.
This patient is not one of the patients you heard before. She's asked that we not use her name. She's from Michigan. She already has one kid. She's having her abortion at about 11 weeks. Nearly all abortions in Michigan are before 13 weeks. And like many patients at Northland, she said I could record her procedure. We're going to hear some of that now. Most patients...
So what you're listening to here, friends, as upsetting as it is, that's a real live abortion. That's being broadcast on national public radio. Your tax dollars are funding the demonic obscenity that you're hearing right now. It's worse than an obscenity.
Just keep breathing, Brandy tells her.
Slaughter of a little baby in his mother's womb.
Yes, you can, Brandy tells her.
Can you hear the vacuum?
And then within just a couple
Can you hear the mother, the moaning of the mother? Can you hear that psychotic encouraging this woman to kill her child like some sort of a demon? A baby is being killed right now, friends. And the sounds of that murder are being broadcast all across this country. And Pope Francis says, climate change is the greatest crisis we face today. You see why we need to fight? You see why we can never get used to this? You see why we have to stand up now and go to war? Because history's going to judge us, friends. We just listen to that, right? History's going to judge us. Not by how many likes and views we had on YouTube, because we managed to keep our message so palatable to the far left demons that they didn't throw us out. History's not going to judge us by that. History's going to judge us by what we did in the middle of this. Did we stand up against the greatest evil the world has ever seen? Did we stand up against it? What did we do? God's going to judge us by what we did right now in this time. What should we do? Should we edit ourselves? Should we edit ourselves to appease Big Brother, to appease the people on YouTube who shut down all dissent for the past 2 years, 3 years? Think about what they did, friends. Think about what they did. They shut down dissent. They did not allow us to protest, to raise our voices when they were doing this to our little babies.
Put your mask on. No, you gotta wear it on, honey.
No, you gotta keep it on.
Put your mask on.
There you go. Keep it right there.
Yay, Mason! Yay!
Keep it on, Mason. Look, we're gonna keep it right here. Look.
It's hard to watch, isn't it? And that was going on. That was going on with millions of little American kids, millions of little European kids, the adults in their lives, locking them down, masking them up, injecting them. That's what they did to our kids, these animals. And guess what? They're not done. Now, just this week, again, the CDC comes out recommending that everyone who's older than 5 years and older, needs to get an updated COVID-19 booster shot. If it has been at least 2 months since the last booster shot they pumped into these little kids. Did you hear that? Did you hear what I said? 2 months. 2 months. You remember Bill Gates? Oh, you're just going to need one shot, maybe one more in like 18 months. Remember all that nonsense? When they were lying through their teeth at us? Remember? 2 months now. 2 months. What's it going to be eventually? It's going to hook us up to an IV drip full of COVID vaccine? We'll walk through life with that? Is that what's going to happen? He said we don't have any choice, man. The elections are stupid. It's not going to make any, really? Well, down in Florida, they're waking up. Lots of states are waking up right now to what's really happening here. Florida's health department is now telling parents to stop. Now, that was 7 months ago. Today, Team DeSantis has doubled down again. That's what's going on all over the world. Outside of the virtual reality, the la-la land reality of YouTube.
When we started the lockdowns, 1,379 people dying a week. Now 1,822 people dying a week. More than when we started the lockdowns. And people don't seem to be shouting about it. What we need, of course, is a massive investigation. And I think we have to demand explanations for the more distal causes. So there is something pretty horrible going on.
It's happening. And it kind of makes you think, doesn't it? Remember when Bill Gates said this? Well, what did he mean by that, by the way? It doesn't really matter, right? Just follow the science. Or YouTube will make you disappear if you question that. We need to talk about what really matters. Climate change, for example. We're going to talk about climate change, the junk science, climate change. You know the stuff that gets you warnings down here on YouTube if you talk about it. Because, of course, the climate hysteria, the climate police, the climate ideology, the climate fascism is what this is really all about. They're going to use that to lock everybody down if we don't do something now, if this election this week doesn't go the right way. Pray God that it does. That's the big game. You can't drive a car, you can't eat beef, you can't use your air conditioner, you can't do anything. Because if you do that, well, you're going to make the whole planet sick. See? Talk about climate change. You can't talk about the rise of this medical dictatorship that's going to require digital ID and maybe eventually a subcutaneous chip under your skin, surveillance, to buy groceries and to go, see your mother in Dubuque, Iowa or whatever, right? You can't talk about that. You can't talk about the surveillance state that's coming. You can't talk about vaccine insanity, which, see, friends, what's happening here? We don't need this show really so much anymore to come out and blow the whistle and expose the big dark conspiracy theory, right? We're not really doing that. It's not a conspiracy theory. Everything, the most evil aspects of this whole thing, they're all out on the table. They're right in our face. As I said, they're campaigning on it, on all of it. They're telling you exactly what they're going to do to you. What they're going to do to your country, and maybe most importantly, what they're going to do to your kids. Right now. Because of George Soros' finance programs, socialist, weird, bizarre, neo-fascist communist programs, they're erasing the southern border of your own country. And they're letting these poor folks come in illegally. Well, how do you think that's going to work out? 2 million people coming in here illegally to begin with, already on the wrong side of the law. Right now, there's a lunatic in the White House who thinks we have 54 states, apparently, who's, again, a supposed Catholic campaigning on the slaughter of babies, can't even string sentences together anymore, so out of his cotton-picking mind. And he's thinking about running again. And people are like, why not? Sure. Half the country. We have schools, public schools, mandatory public schools. You have to go to school. Their main objective is to convince little children to cut off their private parts. That's what they're doing right now. opening up our streets to crime, drugs, murder, carjacking, chaos everywhere. And then they're coming for your private property, and then they're coming for your bank account. You say, no, they're not. That's an extreme thing to say. That's paranoid. Really? I got two words for you. Canadian truckers. They already took their bank accounts out. You think that's not coming down here to our country? Of course it is. That's why they're phasing out cash, so you won't even be able to survive unless they tell you it's okay to use your credit cards and use your bank accounts. That's what they're doing. That's what they're saying. It's all out in the open. And oh, by the way, in the future, the very near future, you're going to need to eat bugs too. Now you tell me, what has gone wrong in this country that despite everything I just said, the midterm elections in America at this moment are too close to call? What is that? What happened? Well, you know what happened. We canceled God, just like YouTube canceled Remnant TV. We as a civilization, we canceled God. We're on our own. And God said, okay, you're on your own. That's the chastisement. You're on your own. We're looking at what we can do on our own. National, spiritual, physical suicide everywhere. Up in Canada right now, the little ferret, people are lining up to kill themselves. No, I'm not exaggerating. This is what it looks like.
Assistance in dying or MAID became legal for patients like him in 2016.
Got it.
I'm good to go?
Safe travels, my friend.
Goodbye, my friends.
Yeah, no wonder. So you look around right now, look what you're seeing. You think, am I the only one that's seeing this? No, you're not the only one that's seeing this. Millions of people in this world, especially in this country, are suffering from severe mental illness. People so brainwashed, they don't even want to be saved anymore. This is Stockholm Syndrome on steroids and on vaccines. The mob now wants blood. The only difference between this and 1789 is we want our own blood spilled. We're on a suicide mission. We want the blood of our children spilled. And people that see the insanity of this, the demonic insanity of this, you think, well, voting is not going to make a difference. Really? Well, you got to do something, right? We got to do something. There are people who are seeing it now. Because this isn't 1996, right? A lot of water has gone under the bridge now. And people are seeing what happens when you get rid of God. A guy like Ron DeSantis is like, oh my gosh, okay, I get it. He may not be a theologian, but he sees the demonic insanity that we're seeing, and he says, no, we're not going down this road any further. This is it. Well, tell me, what would you do? People say, I don't trust DeSantis. Well, what do you do if you wake up tomorrow, there isn't a Ron DeSantis? And that crazy communist who almost beat DeSantis in the last election, gubernatorial election, what if he's down there? The guy that, what was he doing? Smoking crack and just completely insane nut job. What if he's there and DeSantis isn't? And you don't have anybody who's sort of reminding the constituents that God still matters, like DeSantis does. And I can tell you what, I'm sure he's got his problems, but I would vote for this guy in a heartbeat.
So God made a fighter. God said, I need someone to be strong, advocate truth in the midst of hysteria, someone who challenges conventional wisdom and isn't afraid to defend what he knows to be right and just. So God made a fighter. God said, I need somebody who will take the arrows, stand firm in the wake of unrelenting attacks, look a mother in the eyes and tell her that her child will be in school. She can keep her job, go to church, eat dinner with friends, and hold the hand of an aging parent taking their breath for the last time.
I wonder how many times God was mentioned in that little promo. It's so cute. His wife puts that promo on Twitter and says, I love you, Ron. You know, this is a family man. This is a guy who believes in God, believes in children, believes in what's right. He's not all the way there. We never claimed he was. Very few people are. but he's got God on his side. He's trying to bring God back. Don't you see? God's recruiting fighters. Well, are you one of those fighters? Let's answer that call, right? Let's all become fighters for God again. YouTube, are you teasing me? You think it matters? Thank you, in fact, YouTube, for taking down our videos and for making it clear to everyone who's paying attention that people like us are over the target. Thank you. We appreciate it. It doesn't make us want to back down. We're not backing down. We're going to double down. We're going to triple down, in fact. Remnant TV has already been saying what needs to be said, in my opinion, but guess what? Now the gloves are off completely. And we're going to say what needs to be said every day, whenever and however we want to say it. And no YouTubiacs are going to tell us how and what to say, and they're not going to censor us ever again. We're done. And I'm going to close on that, friends. We're not depressed because big tech, big brother shut us down. We're happy about it. It's good. Starting today, we will be offering content exclusively at remnant-tv.com, as I said at the top of the show, unedited, uncensored, what needs to be said while we still have the right, while we still have the ability to say and the time to say what needs to be said. That's what you can count on from us moving forward. And as for Tuesday, a couple days from now, the big election, you don't need me to tell you what to do. You know what to do. Not only get yourself out there to vote, but get as many people as you possibly can out there to vote. You know? Just do this. Vote for whomever still has a brain. Vote for whomever still has a soul. Vote for whoever head is not spinning round and round and spewing projectile vomit at the wall. You know? Pretty easy to see at this point who the good guys are. Just do the right thing so you can hold your head up proud in the future. So you can keep your thoughts your own. And so that one day you can tell your kids and your grandkids that during the very worst of the troubles, when demons were running around the face of the earth, you stood strong. You were never silenced. You were never bullied. You were never intimidated. And you never, ever gave up hope.